Arami Oved Avi. My father was a fugitive Aramean. He went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there. And there he became a great and populous nation. When we tell our story at the Seder, the Magid section, the storytelling part of the Haggadah, we begin here. Arami Oved Avi. My father was a fugitive Aramean. Now, curiously, this verse of Torah comes not from the main Exodus narrative, but rather from a formal declaration tucked away in the back part of the book of Deuteronomy. As the Israelites anticipate entering the Promised Land, Moses instructs them in a ritual of gratitude that they will undertake once they've settled, and only once they've settled in Eretz Yisrael, once they have planted and harvested the land. They are to present a basket of the first fruits to the priest, accompanied by a compact narrative of the Israelite experience, from nomadic roaming to bondage in Egypt, to deliverance, to inheritance. A concise narrative mythology of our nation. That formula begins with the invocation, Arami Oved Avi. My father was a fugitive or a wandering Aramean. In Hebrew, though, this is an ambiguous, tricky phrase to translate. Arami Oved Avi, the Hebrew says. Arami is an Aramean, a person from the territory of Aram, which is like modern-day Syria. Avi is my father. So these are straightforward. But Oved, the verb, the predicate, from the root aleph, vet, dalet, is slippery. It can mean to lose or to lose one's way, to amble about. So our ancestor was lost, went astray, or as it is customarily rendered, was a fugitive, a wanderer. But you shift the conjugation just slightly, and the same verb can mean to cause to lose, to cause to go astray, to pursue, to hunt down, to persecute, even to cause to perish. So different Haggadahs reflect this interpretive divide. The Reform Movement's Haggadah, The Open Door, which was published in 2002, puts it this way. My ancestors, wandering Arameans, went down to Egypt and sojourned there, few in number, identifying the wandering Arameans with Abraham and Sarah, pioneers who left home in that part of the world, Syria, north of Eretz Yisrael, in order to answer God's call. The Sansino Koren Haggadah, which was published in 1965, in contrast, reads this. An Aramean sought to destroy my father, and he went down to Mitzrayim, to Egypt. So here the Aramean is not Abraham and Sarah, the ancestors of the Jewish people, but rather the enemy of the Jewish people. Traditional commentators will identify this Aramean as Laban, or Laban, Jacob's wicked father-in-law, who cheated him, kept him in indentured servitude for decades, and became the Jewish archetype of chicanery. A standard Orthodox Haggadah drives the point home, saying, while Pharaoh decreed only against the males, Laban desired to uproot all. In other words, Laban is even worse than Pharaoh. Two readings of the same three Hebrew words. One makes us out to be intrepid explorers, wanderers who left Aram at God's call, Lech Lecha, go forth. The other interpretation would have us be victims of enemies hell-bent on our destruction, as have countless tyrants sought to do to us. How we translate the verse speaks to our most fundamental views of Jewish history and Jewish identity. We are living in an extraordinary and extraordinarily disturbing and disturbed time. Rising anti-Semitism has become one of the defining vectors of 21st century Jewish life. The most Jew-hating regime in the world now fires ballistic missiles at Israeli civilians, who as a result have been spending their Pesach in shelters and safe rooms. In sympathy with Iran and its proxies, we see shooting and ramming attacks at synagogues across North America and Europe. On college campuses, inflamed activists condemn Israel as genocidal, while saying nothing about Iran gunning down protesters by the tens of thousands. And white nationalists have grown more and more emboldened in their crusade to blame the Jews for the downfall of Western civilization and to enact their grievance in violence. So if you want to argue per one reading of the Haggadah that we are a people still hunted, still persecuted, still driven from safety, you have no shortage of headlines. Still, to see us as victims, only as victims, would be to miss half the story. The old adage holds: it's easy to fund Holocaust museums and hard to fund synagogues and day schools. Bret Stephens said as much recently at 92 NY, that's formerly known as the 92nd Street Y, straight to Jonathan Greenblatt's face, by the way, when Stephens argued that the future of the Jewish people will be built by not the ADL, not by investing in combating anti-Semitism so much as by investing in Jewish learning and Jewish living. And there is something to this. Imagine a Jewish community that would put the same passion that we summon when we are under attack into such projects as learning Torah, observing holidays, building vibrant prayer communities, and working together on mitzvot to build a more just and compassionate world. Many of you have been to a room in the Holocaust Museum in Washington which holds the shoes of 4,000 Jews who were gassed and cremated at Majdanek. That room contains 4,000 reasons to be Jewish. But by itself, that room can never inspire an imaginative and meaningful Judaism for the 21st century. We need, as it were, different shoes to move forward in the world. WRT's own beloved Rabbi Jack Stern of blessed memory said this: "We should take our children back beyond Auschwitz all the way to Sinai. We should take our children forward beyond a system of life defense to a system of life value, beyond a sense of Jewish foreboding to a sense of Jewish commitment, and ultimately to the Shabbat and the Torah that some of our forebears left behind, which in the final analysis may be the best way of all to combat anti-Semitism." He wrote that, delivered that sermon on Rosh Hashanah in 1983. Arami Oved Avi. My ancestors were victims. From Laban the Aramean to Hitler to the Ayatollahs, we have never really been safe. Arami Oved Avi. My ancestors were explorers who left their home at God's call to build a new civilization in a land of promise. And there, half of the Jewish people of the world today are. There are two ways to understand three words in the Haggadah, and two ways to understand what it means to be Jewish. My prayer and my plea is that we might find a way to carry both as we journey forward through a perilous time. Shabbat Shalom.